I will play a sick melody for you. Yeah. Kisa langu ni wewe tu. Ushanipa fever boo, ila moyo si fidu. You tell me say she the baddest chick we ever seen. I believe in your way, oh yeah. And I know say she be the flyest chick we ever seen. I believe in your way, oh yeah. Oh yeah, baby, come bounce to my melody. Yeah. Make you wine slow for me, make a see. Yeah. Oh, you come bounce to my melody. Hey, make you wine slow for me, make a see, make a see. Hey, and now they sing, and they sing, and they sing, and they sing, and they sing. And I thought you should know this, baby, you worth it. Yeah. And now they crazy, they crazy, they crazy, they crazy, they crazy. Thought you should know this, baby, you worth it. Yeah. From your waist, from your waist, from your waist to Nashikana. Make we dance, make we dance, make we dance to the record. Yeah. Hey. From your waist, from your waist, from your waist to Nashikana. Make we dance, make we dance, make we dance to the break of dawn. Hey, break it down. Sexy girl, you're romantic. Romantic. In the night, you're acrobatic. Yeah, acrobatic. Baby, make we dance to the band man. Hey, shaku shaku dance to the band man. Then we can make it banga tonight, girl. No one ever know. And she tell me, say she the baddest chick we ever seen. I believe in your way, oh yeah. And I know say she be the flyest chick we ever seen. I believe in your way, oh yeah. Oh yeah, baby, come bounce to my melody. Yeah. Make you wine slow for me, make a see. Yeah. Baby, come bounce to the melody. And now they sing, and they sing, and they sing, and they sing, and they sing. And I thought you should know this, baby, you worth it. Yeah. And now they crazy, they crazy, they crazy, they crazy, they crazy. And I thought you should know this, baby, you worth it. Yeah. Hey. From your waist, from your waist, from your waist to Nashikana. Come make we dance, make we dance, make we dance to the break of dawn. Yeah. From your waist, from your waist, from your waist. Make we dance, make we dance, make we dance. From your waist, from your waist, from your waist. Yeah, break it down now. And now they sing, now they sing, now they sing. Thought you should know this, baby, you worth it. Yeah. And now they crazy, they crazy, they crazy, crazy. Thought you should know this, baby, you worth it. Yeah.
So when my dad got this letter, he looked at it and he knew it was a sign from God.
We have to be very conscious about creating opportunities for Kenyans locally.
And she said, very carefully, can someone tell that black ugly thing to open the window?
Just give a call. I'll come at a negotiable price.
Miaka 20 safari anza ya kutuunganisha kama Wakenya. Twende tukiuke, twende tukiuke. Let's go beyond, let's go beyond. Let's go beyond. Mimi na wewe tukibuni kazi tu ya kujivunia.
Our next speaker is a fitness freak, which is amazing when you get to realize what he has been through. There's people in this world who have been through a lot, and you'll get to know about it. But there's also people who go through a lot, but they endure it and live life with such joy and bring this joy to other people. Fred has been through a lot, but he is a man who's resilient. He's a man with a story. He's a friendly man. He's like the boy next door. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Fred Nyangoko.
It was on a Wednesday, that is 17th of December 2014. Had just come from the bank, was a banker by then, and then went to my place at Makongeni. So it was just a normal day. We did everything normally. Went to my place. We were staying with Arizona. We had supper, and then we shared our daily experience, what we had at work. Then after that, we went to bed. It was just a normal night. Then at around 3 a.m., had some noise, which I quickly ignored because I thought that those were drunkards. And then within 5 seconds, I was surprised to have found myself trapped in a collapsed building. I was covered by debris, rubbles. Then we were just in a lot of dust. It was very dark, we couldn't see anything. So we kept on yelling, making noise and praying to God to save our lives. I didn't imagine how I will come out of that place, but I was very convinced that at the end of the day, I'll be rescued. So while trapped on the rubble, I pictured my life. How would my life be after getting out of that place? Because I was 100% convinced that I will get out of that place, even if it were to take like 1 week or 1 month. I was very much convinced. I prayed like never before. So we stayed there for over 13 hours. Then we had some rescuers who came there. So first they sent the GSU. The GSU tried, and then because it was a delicate operation, they couldn't manage. Now the government again had to send a KDF specialist. They carried on the rescue operation, and at around 3:30 p.m., that's when I was rescued and taken to KNH. So at that point, the KDF specialist went beyond in that that is not what they normally do in terms of their work, but they have to come there to save a life. So at that point, they went beyond. So from there, I was taken to KNH. And then while at KNH, I was taken for scanning. I went for scanning. During that period, I didn't pass out. I was very sober. So when I went for scanning, they did some scanning. They realized that I didn't have any fracture. I was very surprised that I didn't have any fracture, being that I was in a 7-story building and I was trapped on the 2nd floor. So you can imagine the whole weight was on my right leg, because this one was on the lower side. So this one was on the upper side, but I didn't have any fracture. I suffered severe soft tissue injury. So they told me that I was okay. I was discharged on the same day. Then I wasn't convinced. I had to go back to the hospital. I went the 2nd day. They did a rescanning, and then they got the same result. So I was told to be transferred or taken to another hospital by my brother, but I told him no. I trust these doctors, because you might go to any other hospital and you find the same face. Then what will you do? So I was taken back to my brother's place. We stayed there for 1 week plus. Then after 1 week again, I went back to KNH. That's when I was admitted. And then the following day, I was taken to the theater. So when I went to the theater, there is what medically is called debridement. Debridement is just the chopping off of the dead tissues. So that is the first operation that I did, and that was my first time in the theater. I've never been to theater before. So after debridement, I was then taken back to the ward. I stayed there for 2 days. On the 2nd day, I couldn't feel my leg. It was very numb. So I was again taken back. They again removed the stitches, did another operation. I can't remember the term, but there's another procedure that they carried out. After that, I stayed another for like 2 days. I couldn't feel my leg completely. Then one of the surgeons came to my hospital bed and told me that, Frederick, we are likely to amputate your leg. So if he told me that, then he told me to think about it. I just told him it's okay. I've passed through many stages. If that's what can save my life, then I'm ready for it. And then he told me to first consult my parents and my friends, girlfriend. So I had to do that, but all of them were against it. They adopted for the transfer. They wanted me to be transferred to another hospital. I wasn't convinced. I told them no. If amputation can assist me and help me feel no pain, because I was in great pains, I was in severe pains, I couldn't sleep, but I wasn't crying because I had that trauma from where I'd come from, and I was just thankful to God throughout the entire process. So I was taken to the theater. I had to convince them. I'm the one who convinced them, and then now they accepted the operation, the amputation. And then I was taken to the theater at around 5 p.m. in the evening. And then at around because it was past midnight, that's when I came out of the theater. Then I tried to stretch. When I stretched, I realized that my whole body was still intact. So something told me to check if my leg had been amputated or not. That's when I realized that it had been amputated. So I again went back to the theater, not the theater, but to the ward, and stayed there for 1 month. And then after 1 month, I had fully recuperated, then went back to my sister's place. You know, when you go through something like this, you tend to learn a lot of things. That is when you'll get to know your true friends, and also whether your girlfriend can stay with you or leave you after that, after the trauma. So I had a lot of friends back in campus, in Strathmore and both in KU. So they came to check on me every day. They were there daily. They came there, and even they helped me in footing part of the bill. And also my girlfriend did not leave me. In fact, I was surprised while still at the ward. She told everyone that she was my girlfriend. And I was there 3/4. I wasn't complete, but she had to tell everyone that, and she even convinced everyone that it is not the limb that was putting us together, that it is something more than the limb, which I'm still yet to understand. 4 years later, we got married, and now we have a son called Nilan Alvi Odhiambo, and we are happily married. So after amputation, that's when I had post-traumatic depression, because I had to imagine myself now, being that I'm this tall and now that I'm 3/4, so I had a lot of stress. But when I went back to the ward, what became my therapy is that I realized that we lost all our immediate neighbors. So I was very thankful to God for giving me a second chance. So that's what became my therapy, being that I was given second chance by God. I didn't bother how I looked, that I wasn't complete anymore. I wasn't disturbed. I was just okay. So that one changed my life. I still believe that God can give anyone a second chance, irrespective of what you are going through. You still have the second chance. Every day we tend to neglect or not to appreciate what people do for others. But there are those people who go out of their ways to do things that are not within their daily activities or daily duty or routine. For example, the KDF soldiers who saved my life, they went beyond their way. They had to leave the barracks and come to Makongeni just to save a life. Even the nurses now who are fighting this pandemic, they have other things that they are supposed to do, but they have to be there for us. They are going beyond their way. They are even putting their lives in danger just to save us. So we should be appreciative of what other people do for us. Let's not just take everything for granted. The little thing that someone does can make a difference in someone's life. It can be a life-changing situation. So just be appreciative. If even if you see a janitor somewhere, just appreciate him for the work that he does. He's making a difference, and he's even going beyond, because there are some services that you can't get without going through him, and he has to do that for you. So let's appreciate other people. Let's appreciate what they do.
Our next speaker has done many things. He's had an exciting 12-year career, leading communication strategy, advertising, business, media management. He is a speaker. He motivates not just through his words, but through his life, and he is the voice behind the podcast, Living Truthfully. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Amani Maranga.
A liminal space. When was the last time you met a word that describes exactly where you are? Well, my friend Kehoto and I only throw in Kehoto because he's looking for some fame. So here it is, Kehoto. My friend Kehoto and I found this word, liminal space, that sort of just describes exactly where I am now. So what is a liminal space? A liminal space is a space between what was and next. That nexus, that space of transition, that thing that you can't quite describe. It's when you're in between jobs. And, when people ask you, what are you doing now? You can't quite say the last job, yet even if you have a prospect, you're not there yet. So that's liminal space. And I'll tell you about mine. You see, for the last almost 20 years, ironically, I've been building my dream career. I've worked in advertising, in entertainment, in corporate communications. I've been part of some of the most momentous events in this country. I've had a ball just growing this wonderful career in this sector. I even set up my own company, and with it built what you call an internal communication agency. And that was a fantastic space. It was my dream job. In fact, the dream was to build this empire, was to build this legacy. Well, I did, but it was a little empire. It was a small, it was not even an empire, it was probably just M. And my legacy, it's going to be very short-lived doing that. So, as 2020 has taught us, that you can plan for life, but life sometimes has other plans for you. And some of those are things that you bring onto yourself. Some others are orchestrated up there somewhere beyond your pay grade. And, that happened to me. I had moments where my empire, my dream, my plans didn't fall into place. In fact, I lost everything. I lost that business. I lost some titles I was very proud to hold. Everything I'd built for, at that point, about 15 years went. I did make some mistakes. So some of it was my fault. But some of it was just those guys above my pay grade. When you lose everything, you get into pain. You grieve. You need healing. Any form of loss brings sadness, and any form of sadness needs a process of healing. And in my process of healing, I found that for me, what was going to be that legacy was going to have to be founded on truth. So, I started a journey to find truth. And I started with myself. I started by finding the truth about myself, the truth about who I am, who the foundations of Amani are. And that journey led into what now is branded Living Truthfully. But we'll get to that for a second. See, now, in this, my liminal space, my space which is from what was that empire, that success, that little success. I'm moving from that, and I can see that my next is significance. So I still have a dream. I have a dream of creating safe spaces for men to find their truth, for men to speak their truth, to tell stories, their stories with courage, and without the fear of judgment and invalidation. You know, I've heard it said, mwanaume ni effort, mwanaume ni wallet, mwanaume ni gari. I don't know what else you've heard, but these things zinatu affect, zinatu choke, zinatu suffocate. The truth is, mwanaume ni ukweli. So I want to go beyond. But my going beyond is going beyond the surface of bar talk, beyond the surface of bravado, going beyond what we just showcase about ourselves, going to the depths of what our truth is. And if we find safety to speak that truth, then you create what I call safe men. And safe men mean a safe society. Living truthfully, I guess as a philosophy, is allowing yourself to be seen. The good, the bad, the ugly, and not letting any of that define you. All of us have had the opportunity of saying what's great about us. And we've heard about some of the things that are great about us. When people say you're intelligent, or you're funny, or you're handsome, or beautiful, or, those things, I call that our gold. And so your gold, I'm sure you're happy to show that. When you ask people, like in an interview situation, and you ask people, what did your friends say are some of your challenges? We often have this one narrative that we give. Like, for example, you'll say, I am impatient. But then you say, but I'm only impatient with people who don't keep time, or people who don't do their work well. That's the only time my impatience comes out. So we give this narrative that, sort of sanitizes our bad. But we'll never say the truth about what's ugly about ourselves. And the problem is we sometimes believe these sanitized versions of ourselves. I had to face myself. I had to face my gold and what I call my shadow. My shadows are those things that you hide, those things that you deny, those things that you suppress, those things about you that you don't want the world to see. But they don't go away. Just because you've hidden them, because you've denied them, or you've suppressed them, doesn't mean they're not there. They're like a shadow, right here, somewhere, always lurking, and always being part of your narrative. Mine was anger. I was never allowed to show anger. I hid, denied, and suppressed anger all my life. But when I started being able to express this anger, I realized that I was able to express other emotions, including love, joy, and happiness. Because you don't learn how to suppress one. You learn how to suppress all of them. Living truthfully is actually allowing people to see that and not letting it define you. Because I'm not necessarily the person I am when I'm angry. I am everything that I have to give, my gold and my shadows. So I'm going beyond what's comfortable, beyond fear, to find true masculinity in vulnerability. And I want to encourage you to do the same. And how do you do that? By living truthfully. Thank you.
Our next artist is no stranger to the Engage stage. Her goal is to be one of the go-to names when you think of live music in Africa. And when I think of live music in Africa, Sarah's name does come up. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Sarah.
Thank you very much. Mbari Kasioki wa mitumba, mimi kwa mayena nisiombua. Nimekuwa nikikucheki kwa muda, ninafanyanga kazi pale kwa mama wambua. Ukweli ni nimenoki macho yako ya mbulu. Me and you, we can stick like glue. We can elope, we can go to Kiambu. Please say yes, say you love me too. My dear Kasioki, come I tell you something about the way I feel I love you. My dear Kasioki, come I tell you something about the way I feel I love you. My Kasioki, come and love me. My Kasioki, I love you. Hey, my Kasioki, please come love me. My Kasioki, I love you. Handsome boy, always looking nice. I am ready to be your wife. Look at me, I have beautiful smile, and I can cook food of any kind. Na sitasema unipeleke Amerika, mimi atamu dhokoi nitakula tu. Na kama hauna, si mimi nitatafuta. Juu nimeamua ni Kasioki wa mitumba. My dear Kasioki, come I tell you something about the way I feel I love you. My dear Kasioki, come I tell you something about the way I feel I love you. My Kasioki, come and love me. My Kasioki, I love you. My Kasioki, please come love me. My Kasioki, I love you. Nina kuplomisi, sitaku heartbreaki. Kasioki wa mitrumba, njoni kupende. Nina kuplomisi, sitaku heartbreaki. Kasioki wa mitrumba, njoni kupende. Nikupende, njoo nikupende, nikupende, njoo nikupende. Please sing with me, say nikupende, 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 njoo nikupende, oh nikupende, hey nikupende, nikupende, njoo nikupende. Sing it, say nikupende, 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 njoo nikupende. Yeah, 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 nikupende, yeah, nikupende, njoo nikupende, nikupende, ah, yeah, nikupende, nikupende, nikupende. I love you.
My name is Hulda Sero. I am a musician and a music teacher and a music lover. As a young girl, I remember watching students perform for the president on KBC, and I would be very excited. It was just the most intriguing thing ever. From the costumes to the dancing to the movement up and down to those things at the back, which I grew up and found out were called backdrops. Just everything was just so beautiful. Then when I was 7, the primary school that I was in was hosting the Kenya Music Festivals. And if you don't know what that is, it's music festival where students of all different ages and all different schools come together to compete in different categories, and the winner gets to win a huge trophy. They get to perform for the president, and most important of all, you get bragging rights. You can say we won. And for a student, that sounds like a good deal, in addition to missing class. So, good deal, yeah? So, our school was hosting the music festival, and actually, I have to applaud that administration because they made sure that the normal school program was running as we are hosting. So me, I'm 7 years old. I'm in class, probably trying to learn which color comes first in the rainbow and the difference between indigo and violet or something. But I'm very distracted. At the back, I can hear this thing, and I want to know what that is. My curiosity has been, ignited. So I go there, can I go to the toilet? And as I'm going to the toilet, I pass by the hall, and they had actually really covered that hall with manila paper so that, no distractions. But at the door, which was made of glass, there was a hole that I could peep inside. And right there, in front of me, that thing that I've been seeing on TV, live and in person, the dancing, the costumes, the whole extravaganza right in front of me. And I was so excited. And I remember, in as much as I was very young, that is the moment when I fell in love with music. And I decided that is what I wanted to do. About a year later, we moved houses, so I had to transfer schools to go to a school that was nearer to where we lived. And again, lucky enough, there was a new teacher in that school who wanted to introduce a music program. So we'd get to do that thing. That thing I saw? We'd get to do it. But was I talented, really? I don't know. Because at this point, the only music I'd done, or anything close to music and dance, when you go out with your parents, and then they say, watoto sasa wakuje, wadance hapa mbele, and you dance and dance and dance, and then you're given a sweet or like a 1 shilling, and you're like, I'm rich. That's the only thing I'd done, so I didn't really know if I was talented. But I knew if that's what we are going to do, the whole thing for the president, sign me up. So I tried and I auditioned, but I never really got any significant roles. When other people are dancing and there's a whole group of students at the side just doing like, yay, that was me, so clearly. I wasn't very good at the time. Then when I was 10, something else happened. See, in our school, there was this thing. So if if a teacher is on duty, then it means that teacher's class gets to lead whatever is happening at the assembly for that week, or like we used to call it parade. So when you go to the parade, that class is the one that leads. If it's praise and worship, it's singing of the national anthem, the class leads it. And for our class, every time our class teacher was on duty, there was this one girl who used to sing. But for some reason this day, either she just wasn't feeling like it, or maybe she was sick. I don't know. Maybe let me give her the benefit of doubt. My memory says she was just being a diva, but maybe maybe she was sick. So, and the teacher was like, "Okay, fine. If you don't want to do it, who wants to do it?" And everyone's hand shoots up. Cha. So me, because everyone else was raising up their hand, even me, cha. And for some reason, she said, "You." And I was like, me? What? Me? Why? And it's like 5 minutes to parade. And as soon as she picks me, before we can even like run the songs that we are going to sing, the bell rings and we have to go for assembly. And we go down, and I just was like, okay, I don't know, but let me just sing. And I was leading the class in singing. And I sang, and everyone was like, whoa, who's this girl with a big voice? Wow. And it felt really good, really, really good. And I guess I was really good because now after this, I stopped being the girl for, I was being given more significant roles. The soloists and, the lead person over there still can't dance, so I wouldn't be told to dance. But now I would lead, and when there's guests coming, guest of honor, me, I'd be that child at the front singing for parents and for wageni waheshimiwa. And okay, now we're going for music festivals and everything sounds nice, but then it was very difficult because like every other African household, or like majority of African homes and African schools, no one really thinks that these co-curricular activities make any sense. As long as it's taking any time, even if it's just 30 minutes out of class time, then this thing is evil and you should not do it. So every time my mom or my parents would come to school, that's the thing they'd hear from teachers. Why is your daughter doing this? Why is she out of class? Why are they going for festivals? She's wasting time. And so I'd go home and I have to deal with that situation. You should stop. You should focus on your studies. You know, that is the way of life. And I'm just like, me, I want to do that thing for the president. I don't know why you're not getting it. Me, I saw Uko in the hall and on KBC, people doing for the president. And me, I want to do that thing. So I started to hide. Luckily, when you're in primary school, the festivals are not that consuming. Okay, at least for that school, because we weren't that good. So it didn't really go far. So to the levels we'd proceed to, we'd only need like the school period. You go and by the time even school is over, you're already back. So my parents didn't need to know as far as I was concerned. So I lied my way through my whole primary school life, participating in this music thing. And then I got to high school. And now my high school was doing all these things on a grand level. You know me, at this point, we used to sing, in like a semicircle, and it's like, ooh, Wakeni. But now it's the whole stage and backdrops and up, down and costumes and different characters. It's a whole production, and I was just so fascinated. And of course, I'm going to do this thing. Plus now I'm in boarding school. I don't have to go home and answer questions. But now there's still Parents' Day. When they come, they have to hear it. Oh, your child is spending too much time in music festivals and in drama festivals. And that was so good. I was really excelling. I'm here soloing, and we are doing well. And like I said, our school is really good. And we'd always, especially for music festivals, we'd always proceed to the nationals. So you had to ask for permission from your parents. And that's when now I'd need my parents to know, okay, she's participating in this thing. When you're in Form 1, it's okay. When you're in Form 2, it's okay. Now when you're getting closer to finishing, it becomes a bit of a problem. When they come to school, all they hear is every teacher saying, your child is wasting time. Your child is not focused because she's participating in this music thing. But then there was this one teacher, Mrs. Helen Kinyua. You see, this teacher was a music teacher in my school, but she wasn't even my music teacher. She was just a music teacher who saw something in me. Maybe it was the passion or my gift or something, but she saw something in me and she decided to really invest her time and her emotions into my art. She's the only teacher who really supported me. Again, now in my high school, because we were really good and we'd really proceed and do all these things with the co-curricular activities, there was this one rule that once you become a candidate, you cannot participate in either drama festivals or music festivals because they'd be too time consuming. But as a Form 4, Mrs. Helen Kinyua made sure that I was the only candidate on that bus for a whole week going for music festivals, the week before MOOCs. And she made sure that I went and made sure that I was okay because my classmates were not there really, so I was the only candidate going. And of course, we proceeded to go for nationals, and now I'm panicking. I'm like, okay, so how do I tell my mother? Not even my dad. My dad is in the arts, so that's easy for him to understand that it's just passion. But how do I go home and tell my mom, we have to travel for nationals, please give me permission. I'm coming home so that I can prepare and we have to travel. There's no way I was going to have that conversation with my mother, not when it's 4 months to national examinations. So I make peace with the fact that this is it, I don't even know if I'm going to do this music thing after this, so it's fine. I've run my race, I have fought the good fight. And at this point, I'm content with what I've done, and it's okay. But Mrs. Helen Kinyua sat me down and said, don't worry, it's okay, I'll talk to your mother. And she called my mom. I don't know what she said to my mom. She called me to her office after a few hours and said, yeah, it's okay, so you'll go home tomorrow and prepare so that you can come and we go for nationals. And I'm like, hey. Maybe she just said okay over the phone, but when I go home, I'm going to have to deal with so much. But I packed my things and I went home and I opened the gate and my mom saw me and she was very excited. I was so confused. You're like, is this a trap or am I safe? What's happening? because I'm not used to it. It's always been, since primary school, it's always been, this is a waste of time. Why are you doing this? But I don't know what Mrs. Helen Kinyua said to my mother, because I got in and my mom said, oh, welcome. You know what are the days you're welcomed with? Welcome, my child. Okay, I thought this would be the day that you're called all 5 names in the birth certificate. What did I say? But my mom said, welcome. In fact, I've bought you some strep stills. Go check in my bedroom so that when you go for the festivals, your voice is okay. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is different. And she really supported me. From then on, I don't know what my teacher said to my mom, but she's been very supportive of my music journey since then. And we went and we did very well in the national level. And we came back and I sat my exams. And as all teachers were there cursing me out and telling me how unfocused I am. In fact, my chemistry teacher said, I curse you. What? That was very strange. But she said that, and everyone was really against it, but she held my hand. In fact, when I was sitting my exams, Mrs. Helen Kinyua used to give me her tea. You know, in high school, they were drinking tea with good milk is a privilege. Where? You better know. But she used to call me and I'd drink her milk. And when I didn't have papers, I'd sit with her in the music room and she'd encourage me. And I'm so glad. So today, I am a music teacher. And I believe most of that is because of what Mrs. Helen Kinyua did for me. And I hope to do that for someone else because she chose to go beyond what everyone else was saying, what all the other teachers were saying, what really my parents were saying, to believe in this dream that I had, to plug into this passion that she saw in me. And I now today, as a musician and as a music teacher, I hope to also go beyond and encourage every student that I encounter so that one day when they're sitting here and telling their story, they'll say, there's one Hulda Sero who held my hand and talked to my mother, and my mother gave me strepsils. Thank you very much.
Let's go beyond, let's go beyond, let's go beyond.
My name is Isaac Gabantu. I'm a Ugandan who went to school in Tanzania and lived in Kenya. So I'm your typical East African. 20 years ago, I walked into this country just about the time when everybody was singing Unbogable. You're just letting the old man live, and that's how I got welcomed here. Many years later, my family and I would move to Dar es Salaam for 5 years, and I came back just before the post-election violence. When I came back, I negotiated with my father because I did not like school. And I told him, what do you want? He said, I just want you to pass good enough to go to a school like Daystar to pursue that thing that you love so much called media. I was informed too then, and I told him, if I did my form for this year and I got you that C+, would you be happy? He said yes. And that's how I ended up being a homeschooled child. And I did my form 2, 3, and 4 in 1 year. When I was at Daystar, my parents couldn't pay for the school fees. So I did my 2 semesters only. At the end of my 2nd semester, I walked into the finance person's office and I asked her if she could just let me do that semester's exam, keep my results until when I pay, then maybe come back. She said no. And that's when I stumbled upon this thing I love so much called production. But before then, my first moment that really got me stretched was when I loved this thing called media so much that the day when I finished my Form 4, I actually was at NTV, Citizen and KTN to drop off my CV. I believed it was an amazing CV. But Emmanuel Juma and the others saw something very different. They denied me an opportunity. At that point in time, I tracked down Jeff Koinange unknowingly, and I found him, I think, at Fairview Hotel where he used to shoot the JKL then at K24. I spoke to him, and I waited for him actually until he had finished his interviews. Then I approached him, I told him, I want to be on the bench. Wrong question and wrong request. Then they used to shoot on tape. So the tape had a sticker. He grabbed the sticker off the tape, wrote his email address and said, you go out there, do something, and just maybe we will find you when you've done something, and then you'll be on the bench. Many years later, I've not been on the bench, But as soon as I left Daystar, or as soon as I walked out of that finance lady's office, came across a good friend of mine who was way older when we were still the same church, but now had her own production company. And that's when Dorothy Getuba allowed me to join Spielworks Media as the head of digital then. To be a head of digital at the time when I joined Spielworks, all you had to know is how to tweet. And that's all I knew. But she gave me that opportunity and I took it up. And I remember working under people like Oyunga Pala and many others while at Spielworks Media. Years later, I would leave Dorothy Getuba's company to then become my own person. I set up a company with a friend of mine called Wahiga and ran an agency called Agency X. At that point in time, we were a very small agency and we didn't really get to nail most of the big jobs that we probably wanted. It was a very tough space to be in, so we had to bring it to an end. And unfortunately, Wahiga had to go his way, I had to go my way, but we remained very good friends. He went on to win the BBC award, and I went on to start my own company. So iGabantu Studios is a live digital production company. So what we do is that we help brands express themselves using live video, either through product launches, brand experience events. But recently, we've also started doing our own original live content. So talk shows, etc. and the rest. We've also ventured into green screen technology, which allows us then to create virtual events using virtual sets out of just green screen our studios. So mainly, that's our focus. We create digital live content or experiences. At the point when we started iGabantu Studios, all we were was just a production company. But somewhere along the way, we stumbled upon one of those monthly posts that Zuckerberg does. And right in the middle of his post, he said, one of the most key things for Facebook moving forward is going to be live video. And that struck me. At a point when live video was really not a very big thing as opposed to what it is now after the Rona, we took up this risk and actually invested in a gentleman called Burale to then shoot a 10-episode series, which was a live show actually in a hotel right here in Westlands, and we shot it for 10 weeks straight. I didn't have any equipment, so what I did, I partnered with a good friend of mine called Kintu, the owner of 6 to 6, and we shot these amazing episodes. But after the 10th week, after running after sponsors, we had to give up because then we couldn't sustain the production. A week before the World Cup trophy came to Nairobi, I had shipped in equipment that could allow me now to produce my own live events. They were still in the box, but again, speaking of stretching, we made a call of faith to Coca-Cola to a man called Alovi and asked him for an opportunity to actually stream live the World Cup trophy showcasing at the KICC. Alovi said the budgets for that production were already set in December. This was April. Unfortunately, that couldn't happen. But as something that's gotten us through the doors in many ways, we actually offered to give this service to Coca-Cola at no cost. And Alovi said, you know what? Fine, you guys go ahead and do it. Kenya was the only country where actually the World Cup trophy was actually shown live. And while KICC could attract about 15,000 people, by going live, they actually attracted about 35,000 people. Recently, Safaricom trusted us with actually streaming the Safaricom at 20 event, which was for us a stretch equal to the many other stretches that we have faced in the past. What going beyond means for me with all the stories that and many other that actually make up my life is the fact that many times, as my good friend says, you will be called upon to do something, but sometimes the answer doesn't have to be yes or no. Just say yes and then figure out how to do it later. In these many years, I've learned that I'm a best hype man and nobody else is going to do that for me. So I trust myself even when I don't know how to do something, and I trust that if I put my mind to it, I just might get it done well. So I trust that you can go beyond and even further.
5 o'clock in the morning. Should be driving home, but I'm stalling. Oh yeah, I'm feeling low, so I'm calling. Hello, hello, baby. The touch of your skin and your sweet melanin. Hey, me now where me lele not to end the day. The thing where you do me, I swear not your mind. Oh, make I tell you something, that who you answer, baby. Anytime when I day far away, I've been thinking of you every day. See that song that I sing out for you. Ooh, hello, hello, baby. Hey, baby, oh, I didn't think of you. And everything that I do, oh, your pretty walk and your pretty smile too. I be lowest in a gloom, oh, baby, oh, you give me fever. I need your body feet to make my ginger. Girl, that's why I no go do you, yo.
You said no, I heard hello. Get away from me, I heard come closer. Leave my house, I came the next day. I don't love you, I miss the don't. Settle down with you, I can't no more. I miss the days with you, that's what I got.
Anytime when I day far away, I've been thinking of you every day. See that song that I sing out for you. Ooh, hello, hello, baby.
Now I'm standing betrayed by the lies that I told me. Now I'm hoping that I right my wrongs. Now I'm standing betrayed by the lies that I told me. Now I'm hoping that I right my wrongs.
Presidente Camatão, se assim de mim não é quanto. Baby, I need a win a fall to be right. Oh, baby, Presidente Camatão, se assim de mim não é quanto. Baby, I need a win a fall to be right. Anytime when I day far away,
I've been thinking of you,
thinking of you every day.
get out of my mind.
See that song that I sing out for you.
I don't want you no more.
Hello, hello, baby.
Baby.
Anytime when I day far away,
I've been thinking of you,
thinking of you every day.
I don't want you no more.
See that song that I sing out for you. Hello, hello, baby. Oh no, hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, baby.
For most couples, their love stories started somewhere familiar. That familiar place can be church, it can be the neighborhood, for some it's even at the workplace. But our next pair of speakers met while riding. Not bicycles, but while riding motorbikes. It's a love story that has the making of a great movie. Two people who met doing what they love. But they did not just stop there. They've gone ahead to do amazing things. They've challenged not just themselves, but they've challenged us to go beyond that which we think is possible, to really push the limits of our abilities as individuals. For Dos, he is a man who rode from Kenya to South Africa and back on his 180cc motorbike. But for Omoyo, it's an amazing story of somebody who just picked up riding not so long ago, but has a great adventure and a great story to tell. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome Dos and Omoyo.
Life is too short for ordinary adventures.
Yeah.
In 2015, I took a border. Yeah, I rode it to South Africa for 3 months and came back. And it was so budget, kabisa. That's how we met. Actually, after I came back, and we met in a fuel station, the Lavington fuel station.
Yeah.
The Shell, and that was the first day we met.
Yeah, and we actually didn't even talk about anything. I remember you just stood somewhere and somebody captured a picture of us, me arriving and you just getting your helmet out. But after the conversation, because he's a very quiet guy, the only thing you asked me is whether I've ever ridden out of town, and I said no. And the next thing was, would you like to ride out of town tomorrow? So yeah, our story started with to ride kesho.
Because the first time we met, we were talking and she mentioned she started riding because of her midlife crisis and she was 40. I was like, what? Let me see your ID. And I was like, what? You don't look 40. You're looking like 28 or something.
Thank you. Yeah, he doubted my age. And I think that was interesting because I never got people who, in the 4 months, it was a short time to actually just summarize the story, but I never got people who were very courageous to just come on to me and ask me for a ride or something like that. It's very normal in biking community for someone to say, we have a ride, you can join us, but a group. But this one was one person saying, I'd like to ride with you. So that was very interesting.
And very spontaneous.
It's very spontaneous,
Yeah.
which was also exciting. Yeah. Initially, I thought, I'll use this for commuting. I had not seen many of people riding out there. So for me, it was going to work, being excited on a bike, doing something different, meeting new people, because when you start riding, you meet totally new people. You have new friends all of a sudden. So that was the most exciting thing about it. And then, of course, it went further than that.
My riding passion began a couple of years ago, I think 10 years ago or 11. I'm not really sure. My youth pastor then, he's called Pastor Nick Korir. He had a motorcycle. He gave me a lift to home. And when we got home, I got off the bike. I looked at him, I told him, one day I'm going to get a bike.
Yeah, so we met in January 2016. Yeah. And by June 2016, we were already in a relationship and happy being a couple. So one day we just seated in the evening and he says, what if we took 1 year to travel? And in my mind was like, this is what I've been waiting for. I just said, yes. So the following day we woke up and he asked me, you remember the conversation yesterday? I said, yeah, we're traveling. And in a month or so, or 2 months, I quit my job. I came home and I told him, okay, are you ready to have a girlfriend who is not working anymore? And he said, if that's what you want to do, but what are you going to be doing with your time? I said, I'll be planning the trip. I'll now be your employee. I'll be planning the trip. And that's how it started. So we never went back.
I think for me, we had a conversation in the evening. Then 2 weeks later, she comes and tells me, oh, I'm quitting my job. Then I'm like, for real, it's happening. So from there we bought a map.
Yeah.
We started figuring out the routes. We planned like 4 different routes around the world. But then the time we had decided to take a year of work to travel around the world. But then we decided, because we love motorbikes, let's travel around the world on motorbikes. Yeah. And we looked at, there is no other Kenyan, there is no other person that we know who's done this on motorbikes. It was only like Europeans or Americans. And we decided to chat them. And the responses were really good. So we plotted our map so many times. And eventually we landed on the route that we actually used.
Yeah. And I think what made us not turn back is having a commitment to us. And then when we selected a date, he said, we have now to look at the date and pick a date of departure. Of course, our planning was very guided by weather, especially. That was like the priority one, the weather, because of the winters and all that. So we picked a date, 2nd July 2018, we are leaving, and this is a year before, or more than a year actually.
And a half
Yeah.
before.
And then now the commitment moved from us to us and the people. The public now was waiting. And and we realized, wait a minute, this is not just about us. Now other people are asking, are you still living on 2nd? And we would say yes. So we had to make it happen because we felt we owe it to ourselves and now we owe it to the public.
We had sold everything. We were living,
we were sharing
a house.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything, but then we were like, tomorrow we are leaving. Finally, this is the date. And you couldn't sleep. We couldn't sleep the whole night. It was just like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and the kids were home. And the last bit, the very personal packing, everything else, tents, spare parts, bikes had been checked. All the big items had been done. But the little nitty-gritties of us, like even deciding, is it 3 t-shirts or 2 t-shirts, had not been done. So the kids started packing for us.
Yeah.
They started putting things in the box. They started saying, no, you don't need this, you don't need this. And that's when we realized, wow, we are actually saying goodbye tomorrow morning to everyone. Mom was in town. My sisters were in town. Aunties and uncles and some people cried.
Yeah.
So it made it difficult for us also emotionally.
The plan was, and which we actually kind of followed, it was Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, Botswana, Namibia, South Africa. That was the African leg. Then Argentina, down to Ushuaia, which is the southernmost town. Then we had also planned to go to Antarctica, which we did. And the logistics were also crazy, just planning for Antarctica. Then back to Argentina, Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, then Nicaragua.
When we crossed Busia, we were like, well, the first stamp on the canet, this is it. This is it. Now we are in a foreign land and we have to do it. From there, Uganda was easy. Then we crossed into Rwanda. Rwanda wasn't tough. We didn't do much in Rwanda, actually. I had a small accident in Uganda, so Rwanda was very slow for us. Then we got into Tanzania.
Yeah.
Tanzania is big. And between Rwanda, Kigali, and getting into Tanzania, the roads were being constructed. So that was a challenging ride. One day we rode almost 500 kilometers, and half of that was in dirt, deep dirt. We got late.
Yeah, we rode at night.
We rode at night. We scared a couple of trucks because we were following them, since we have no idea where we're going, and the sand was so deep. So we kept behind this truck, and the guy at some point panicked. He stopped. He got out, he looked at us, we refused to pass. So he got in his truck and decided he's going nowhere. And he was the only lead we had. So from there, it's us struggling with almost walking the bikes, because the soil was a few inches deep and you have no idea what is down. There's no lighting, it's in the bundos.
The whole travel gives you, how can you put it, a renewed sense in humanity, because people think other people are really bad, security issues, but all through our trip we found like very amazing people. Even before we left, people who are very, very open to giving us accommodation before we left, people who gave us money towards our trip, people who took care of our kids when we were away, family and friends, and the generosity of people and just people in general. We didn't know we were going to meet like the Minister of Tourism in Tanzania or the President of Botswana. It was just random acts which just came up, and especially in Africa, people give you their home, and that's what we experienced.
the saying that it is the two of us against the world. That was actually the real thing for the two of us, because you don't know people. You live by trust. When you're out there, you live by trust. And thanks God that people are really, like Dos said, you realize you get a new sense of humanity. People are so kind and generous. But at the end of the day, it is just the two of us against the world. So we started realizing how much it means to be the best of each other or for each other. The first couple of months were a bit difficult because I used to work the whole day and he's working the whole day. So we spent 2 hours in the evening and probably in the morning between shower, breakfast and leave for work, maximum 4 hours. The rest you're in the office or in traffic or sleeping. Then now the first months were a bit difficult, 24/7 together. You're now learning things that you didn't know about each other in foreign countries. In a situation where you can't say, I need to sulk, so I'll be upstairs and you can do your cooking or watch your movie. We didn't have that. Yeah. We had to be together. And we learned how to deal with those emotions. For me, I would say that this trip has been the best honeymoon and the best thing we did for our marriage. We are not just husband and wife, we are best of friends. And we've been tested. Like, we've really been tested out there in terms of our relationship.
I think you didn't mention we got married like, it was in April, we left in June.
Yeah.
So this was also, it doubled as a honeymoon.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Then, of course, after that, we learned to make friends. And all these were transitions because we have the best of each other and we really need each other. And then at some point we started relaxing and making friends. But we also learned that we were missing that part of our lives where, you know, it's not just the two of us. I remember in Malawi, we met these two guys. They're very good friends of us. Mm-hmm. And they were going out to do something and those just came and told me, can I join them? The look on his face, I could see he has really missed a boy's time.
It was bromance.
Yes. It was just there that he has really missed a boy's time. And I just said yes. And we became such good friends with them. We traveled Malawi to South Africa together. Of course, we were on the bike, so we would agree which towns to meet. And after that, in Malawi, in Zambia, mm-hmm. I met a friend from Turkey. I met a friend from Turkey. And I realized what it is like to also have my time with another girl. So while we were in Zambia, he stayed with the boys and I stayed with this girl and we did the Vic Falls mm-hmm. separately, which helped. So we were growing as we were traveling and discovering the things that we didn't have to ourselves, we had to bring them to ourselves.
We were supposed to be in South America for 6 months. We ended up being in South America for 1.5 years. And it was such an amazing experience. We started learning Spanish, able to make friends, communicate in Spanish to the police officers, to the people on the road. And it was awesome. Then Corona hit and the borders closed. So we couldn't move. And Nicaragua is such a small country. So we stayed there 4 months hoping that the borders are going to open. And which it didn't, even up to now. Some borders haven't really opened. But I think the biggest challenge was getting back home. That process was, I think, one of the craziest experiences we've ever had. Yeah. We had, shipping the bikes was a different experience. Getting from Nicaragua to the US, then the US back to Kenya was also a very, very interesting and long experience. But coming back home, we loved it. We just love being back in Kenya.
One of the questions that has been asked to me so many times is how I managed to do all this. I've only been riding for 5 years up to today, and I've done over 20 countries on a motorcycle. And the other question is how I found it easy to leave my children. A lot of women, I really can't explain that I'm not a superwoman. I'm probably very, what's the word for being, just taking things randomly.
Spontaneous.
I'm very spontaneous. But what this has taught me, because I've also learned from it, as much as I'm asked this question, how was it leaving your children? I would say that it wasn't easy for me. As a mother, I have questioned myself so many times. When they call and they need help, or they call with this and that, I've actually also questioned myself a lot, because I won't lie to you, the guilt is there of leaving. But I have also seen them, after coming back, changed people, more grown-ups. We left, our daughter was just 18, or just about to turn 18, I think. She had just cleared high school, and we left her on her own because we wanted her to experience that. So we put her in an Airbnb sharing with 2 other girls. And the first time we gave her her allowance for the first month, I think she used her money in 2 weeks. She used her money in 2 weeks. But she did not tell us. So she survived on the other 2 girls saying, oh, I'm having breakfast. Would you like some bread? And she said, yes. I'm cooking dinner. Would you like some? Yes. But she would never tell them that she finished her money. So when she was getting the second allowance, that's when she told us, guys, I was so afraid to tell you that I spent my money in the first 2 weeks, and for the last 2 weeks, I've been relying on my housemates to share their food. I have not left the house. I've not gone anywhere. And we said, we asked her, what is the lesson that you have learned? Budgeting. Now, what you taught me about budgeting, I have seen it. So there are good things that have come out of it. We've seen them grow. We've seen them become independent and more mature, I think faster than if we had stayed at home. Which girl picks a bike, meets a guy in 6 months and decides, let's go? I guess this girl and many others that haven't discovered. I am sure there are so many other girls there that are just waiting to ride Kesho.
We grow up, we go to school, get married, build a family. But for me, I believe there is more to life than that. And the world is huge. So it's not really about the money at the end of the day, or it's about the time and energy. Other things are going to work themselves out. That's why I lived my life. Things will work themselves out. But if you have, especially the time, and also a bit of resources towards the passion that you have. For us is riding motorcycles. For other guys it's cycling. For other guys it's doing whatever. But if you have a passion and you want to pursue it, then go ahead and just do it. Because I think life is too short just to stay in one place.
You know, being human means having a human experience, and part of a human experience is being hurt. And when you've been hurt by life and by everything around you, all you know is to build walls so that you don't get hurt again. And this song tells that story. Ladies and gentlemen, Akia. Jamani, ninaoga, sielewi nini inatendeka, kwa sababu vile wajitolea kunipenda mimi sijazoea. Ninawaza
nawaza na tena ninapanga vile mimi naweza kutoroka hisia zangu ambazo zinapanda zinanifanya kuogopa. Alwar, ololo ya ye, wokputa. To love me so perfectly. How can it be now that you're with me? I can't seem to believe that this is for real. Unakazana, unakazana, nakataa. Wajaribu kusukuma, nakataa. Nimejenga ukuta kaziba ufa huwezi ingia. Hey, alwar, ololo ya ye, wokputa. Lakini naona ugumu, nina zangu sababu, mapenzi hugeuka sumu. Yeah, alwar, ololo ya ye, wokputa.
It's been an amazing evening, celebrating the human spirit of doing more for others, of going beyond, of resilience. An evening where we've been inspired by the stories, the journeys of our speakers, and an evening where we listened to outstanding music from our artists. Let's give them all a hand. This evening is made possible by the hard work and sacrifice of many people. I want to start by thanking the speakers, our crew, the audience. A lot of people have made this day possible. We may not mention all of them in person, but we want to celebrate them and appreciate them, so let's give them all a hand. Agatha?
What's love got to do with it? It being life, love, being alive through 2020, surviving 2020, the people around us who have held us up. On February 13th, 2021, we will be turning 6. And we will have an Engage, which every February, traditionally with the made What's Love Got to Do with It, because that was the theme for the very first Engage. Please do join us on the 13th of February for another edition of Engage, where we will have amazing stories of love, all different kinds of love, and we will have great music from up-and-coming music talents. Thank you very much. It's been an amazing evening. But before you log off, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. And please ask your friends, relatives, and those who owe you money to subscribe.
And once you've subscribed and you want to share your story at Engage, send us an email at info@engage.or.ke and impact somebody else through the experience you've had and uplift them. Because really, why are we here if not to uplift each other? Thank you very much. It's been a great evening. Have a good night.